Delegate Revolt that seems to be growing when it comes to Donald Trump. Is it the case, or is Trump in good standing as we go into the convention?
Well, I think what we've got to see is that he's definitely not in good shape for the general election. But when it comes to the Republican Party at this point, there is a very small minority that is very vocal trying to throw him out, and Donald Trump is going to come out of the Republican convention as the nominee.
And does the small group of people, and some of them big names, does it? It's got to be something that would hurt his campaign ultimately, right?
Well, certainly, any kind of division going into or coming out of the convention is not the narrative you want, especially if you're playing from behind at this point, which, I think we've got to be honest and say that Trump is. When you look from fundraising, he's behind. When you look at poll numbers, which he loved to talk about in the primary, he's behind on that note. So he's got to be changing this narrative, and the narrative you don't want is a disaffected Republican base coming out of this. And that's why what happens in Cleveland is important, and it's important for two audiences. One, for the general population who's going to be watching, and I believe they're going to be watching in larger numbers than they've ever watched the Republican convention before. But the second group is the hardcore Republican base, and who does Trump pick as a VP, and what does he do that helps him shore up that base really going into November, because that's the people he needs very passionately on his side.
Yeah. Do people like George Will matter? I mean, he says he's left the Republican Party.
Well, does he matter for everyday voters? I'm not really sure. At a higher level, from a philosophical point of view, I think that there are a lot of Republicans who are concerned and have good reason to be about some of the things that are happening. But whether or not that affects the everyday voters, what we have to understand is the typical traditional Republican positions, the way that politicians have been for years and years, is what exactly has given us Donald Trump. And the question now is, will the people who voted in Donald Trump in large numbers, will they be enough to carry his candidacy through to the presidency, or are there enough disaffected Republicans who are either going to sit at home or vote third party that are going to basically allow Hillary Clinton to be president?
What about the disillusioned Democrats who, the negatives? I mean, you talk about Trump's negatives, but Hillary's negatives are just as big, if not growing.
Well, and there's one caveat there, one thing to add to that. While she has higher negatives than he does in a lot of ways, she also has this criminal problem.
Yeah.
You can like or dislike Donald Trump, but he's not a criminal. She is one of the most corrupt politicians that our country has ever seen. And so you just have an interesting election. You've got two candidates on either side who both have high unfavorables, and they're both trying to bring together the American people. And it's going to be interesting to see who is able to do it. Here's the thing we know about Donald Trump. He has the ability to change the narrative and change it quickly because of his grasp and ability to work with the media. The challenge for him comes that he also can change it very quickly in a negative way. And so how effectively he's able to move people in his direction is interesting first. But the second step is, can he stay on message throughout this campaign, which has proven to be something that he's not very good at.
Yeah. Andrew?
So, I want to get back to the Hillary corrupt thing, not disagreeing or agreeing with you, but I've heard a lot of people talk about how the Clintons have, in the past, and especially of late, been kind of almost out in the open about it, or almost laughing in the face of this controversy, even though the evidence is really stacked against them. We heard a lot over last week about looking into the Clinton Foundation and their connections with foreign nations, and Bill Clinton going to speak there. Is it something that because of who they are, they just don't care?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think the Clintons have been very corrupt for very long, and they have not played by the rules. They haven't had to for many years, and the American public and the inside, really the judicial system has turned a blind eye to the things they've done. Here's the thing that I think is interesting. To me, Hillary has changed her tone just a little bit over the past couple days, and I don't know if that attitude that you're talking about, if she's gotten advice that's not helping her.
Yeah.
Because even the way she's talking about the meeting between her husband, former President Clinton, and Loretta Lynch, again, she's not. She's definitely not conciliatory or anything like that, but she seems to be taking it a little more seriously, and I think that's a sign that the public didn't appreciate the bravado with which she approached the situation, and she's obviously gotten some advice that she needed to change the tune a little bit.
And one last thing on Trump, your thoughts on the tweet, tweet that's being called anti-Semitic.
This just goes back to the point I made just a minute ago. He can change the narrative very quickly in a positive or a negative direction.
Yeah.
I think he's going to change it in a positive direction at the convention. I think the fear is for many Republicans that he keeps doing things like this that just seem so stupid that could hurt him long term. And so can he change the narrative and stay positive? I'm not convinced, but I hope he can.
All right, Kevin Paul Scott, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right, quick break. We'll do news. Christine has it coming up in 2 minutes on WIBX.